What's going on, everyone? This is Kevin here, and this is the Moto G Stylus 5G. And in this video, we're going to be going over the various pros and cons and best and worst things about this device. Now, this phone was recently launched in June of 2021, but this is not the first Moto G Stylus device offered by the company. In fact, in 2020, Motorola released the original Moto G Stylus. Then, in January of this year, we got the Moto G Stylus 2021, but that phone is 4G only. And then now, they just released the Moto G Stylus 5G. Now don't worry, I will be comparing this phone in a separate video to the 4G variant that launched in January of this year, but there are quite a few differences between the two phones. But for the purposes of this video, I just want to break down my top 5 favorite features about the device, and then my top 5 least favorite features and things that are missing. Now, the various cons that I go over with this phone are certainly a little bit nitpicking, as considering this phone is a decently affordable device, you can't expect everything, but they are things that I think you might want to know about before getting the Moto G Stylus 5G. But starting off, let's go over the top 5 pros. Now, coming in at number 1 definitely has to be the large battery that we're getting here with the phone. Now, with the Moto G Stylus 5G, we're getting a 5,000 milliamp hour internal battery. That's a bigger battery than any iPhone that's ever been created, and it's also a slightly larger battery than the Moto G Stylus 2021. So it is cool that we're getting such a big battery here with the phone. Now, there are multiple benefits to that. Obviously, the first benefit is that you're going to be getting good battery life with the phone. But the second benefit that you might not think about is that battery degradation, which happens to every phone, doesn't matter which one you get, is going to be less noticeable here with the Moto G Stylus 5G. So since we're already starting with an oversized, high-capacity battery, as that battery degrades into the future and holds less and less of a charge, it's not going to be nearly as big of a deal compared to a phone that has a smaller battery. The second benefit with the Moto G Stylus 5G definitely has to be the display that we're getting here with the phone. Now, this display is 6.8 inches. It's an IPS LCD display at 1080p. We're getting a PPI of 386, a 20:9 aspect ratio, and an 85% screen-to-body ratio. So in general, we have pretty small bezels all around. Now, the bottom bezel is slightly thicker, but again, in general, considering that this is a mid-range device, I feel like the display is very well sized. And in addition to that, the design here is very practical. Now, having this large display comes in handy for multiple reasons. The first reason is that if you want things bigger in general, maybe you don't have the best eyesight, then being able to zoom in on things, or even just to use the phone in general with the screen being as large as it is, definitely will help out with that. The second benefit is that if you like to use your device for content consumption, such as watching YouTube videos, for example, it's going to be great on this massive display. And then finally, considering this phone does feature a stylus, having a large display makes it even easier to take notes. So if you want to start a new memo, for example, and you want to write on here, just like that, it definitely comes in handy having a bigger display when you're getting started compared to a phone that has a small display, because you have less screen real estate to take notes and do other things with the stylus. Now, the third pro with this phone is that we're getting a lot of internal storage. In fact, with the unlocked variant of the Moto G Stylus 5G, we're getting 256 gigabytes of internal storage. And if that's not enough for you, you can always put a microSD card into the phone. Now, since getting this device, I have installed a variety of my own favorite applications, but you can see with that and also the system software, I've only used up 10% of the internal storage. So you can see that there is quite a bit of internal storage here remaining. So if you are somebody who is constantly filling up their device with photos, music, videos, text message data, all that stuff, basically if you're always running out of space in your phone and you're not really interested in necessarily depending on a microSD card, then getting this much internal storage is going to be a very big benefit to you. It's also pretty incredible that in 2021, the base model iPhone 12 only has 64 gigabytes, whereas this device, which is quite a bit more affordable, gives you significantly more. So 256 gigs of internal storage with the Moto G Stylus 5G really is incredible. Now, I believe this phone might be making its way over to some carriers in the future, and it is possible that for those carrier variants of the phone, we might be getting less storage. I don't know that for sure, but sometimes that does happen. But again, whether it's 256 gigs or even if they make another variant of the phone with less storage, you're getting a lot of storage here. Now, the fourth benefit of the Moto G Stylus 5G, which I already touched on a bit, and it's in the name of the phone, is that we are getting a stylus here. And the good news is that the stylus is decently usable. Now, the first thing about the stylus that I do like quite a bit is the design. So it does feature a pop-out, pop-in design here. So that's pretty cool. Very similar to how it is on the various Galaxy Note phones. But essentially, it's easy to stow away the stylus, and then when you need to use it, it is here for you. And what's nice about it is that you can use it to navigate around the phone, just like you would with your finger. But of course, you can also go over and access these various pre-installed applications. You can take a note. You can also just draw if you want to. You can color stuff in. It's really up to you. You can create GIF images. You can also go over and add other applications as well. And of course, in the Play Store, they have a variety of other stylus optimized apps available too. Since the Note series of phones have been around for such a long time, app developers have created a variety of different apps that are stylus compatible in the Play Store. So you can download all those apps, try them out, and then if you want to, you can even add them in this sidebar right here. So in general, I like having the stylus, and even if you're not a big fan of having one, you can easily put it away and pretty much forget about it until you need it again. Now, finishing off my top 5 pros of the Motorola Moto G Stylus 5G definitely has to be the great cameras that we're getting here with the phone. And in addition to them being good, we're also getting a variety of them. So you get a bunch of different abilities when it comes to taking photos and videos here with the phone. Now, starting off at the back of the device, we have a quad camera setup. So we're getting a 48 megapixel main camera, an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, a 5 megapixel macro camera for close-up images, and a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera that helps out with portrait mode. Now we do get portrait mode with both the rear and front cameras, which is really awesome. And the front camera that we're getting here with the phone is 16 megapixels. Now here's how things look on the camera app. You can see that this is with the standard camera right here. Then from here, we can switch over to the ultra wide angle camera where we can fit a lot more content into the frame. This especially comes in handy when taking photos and videos outdoors. And then we can go over to the macro camera for close-up images that are still in really good detail. So I like that we get so many different cameras here, allowing us to do different things. But in addition to that, there are some other photo modes available as well, and some different video modes. But some of the highlights that you can see here, of course, include portrait mode. There's also spot color, so you can pick out a specific color, and then have everything else be mostly grayscaled. And you can even pick the intensity of this as well. There's also a pro mode, and in pro mode, you get a lot of other abilities here. And then as far as portrait mode goes, again, we get that with both the front and rear cameras on the device. So if you like to use that feature and get those nice blurred out backgrounds, then you can do it here with the Moto G Stylus 5G. Now, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, there are quite a few things about this device that I'm certainly a big fan of. But unfortunately, it does also lack some various features that I would have liked to see. Now, the first feature that's missing, which is certainly a bit of a surprise and also a bit unfortunate, is that it doesn't appear that this phone is compatible with taking 4K video, whether it's with the rear or front cameras. Now, to show you that 4K video recording is in fact missing, I do have the regular Moto G Stylus 2021 right here. And then of course, this is the Moto G Stylus 5G. Now, if you go to the camera apps on both, and you go to video, and you go up here, you can see that on the Moto G Stylus 2021, we have the option to set the resolution between 4K and Full HD. And then you can see here that we don't get that function with the Moto G Stylus 5G. Instead, all you get is a toggle to switch between 30 and 60 FPS. So sadly, it looks like the Moto G Stylus 5G does not support 4K video recording with the rear camera. Now, I'm not sure if this is due to a software or a hardware limitation. I do know that these two phones do have different processors, and it certainly is possible that the processor that we're getting here with the Moto G Stylus 5G does not support 4K video recording no matter what phone it's in. But if you are someone that does like to take 4K videos and you're expecting this phone to have that feature, then just know that it doesn't. Now moving on to the second con with the Moto G Stylus 5G, and that is that there is no wireless charging. Now I know that wireless charging is not really an important feature for many people out there, but I do know that there are certain people who really do like having it. And especially if you already own quite a few wireless chargers and you're expecting that if you upgrade to this phone, you're getting wireless charging, then sadly, I've got to let you know, you're not getting wireless charging here. So if you do want to get a phone that does have wireless charging, then you'll either have to buy some sort of third-party adapter or you'll have to go with something else. Now the third con with this phone is also very disappointing, and that is that there is no NFC with this phone. Now we're in 2021, where mobile contactless payments using NFC are getting more and more popular. Pretty much every iPhone out there nowadays has Apple Pay support, and all the various flagship Android phones, in addition to a decent amount of mid-range and budget devices as well, do have NFC. Now if you've never had a phone with NFC, and you've never made a mobile contactless payment, then I suppose you really won't know what you're missing out on. But if you are someone that's already used to using your phone to make payments, then just know that if you upgrade to this one, you're not getting that feature. And in addition to that, it's especially disappointing because it really doesn't cost that much to implement NFC into a device. Another disappointing thing with the Moto G Stylus 5G is that we're not getting stereo audio. Now, if you don't know what I mean by stereo audio, let me define that for you. Essentially, with most smartphones out there, and especially the more premium ones, you have audio coming out of both the speaker on the bottom and the earpiece as well when you're listening to music, watching videos, or really doing anything. Now this phone does have speakerphone and it does work well, but keep in mind that if you're going to be playing music or watching videos, you're only getting audio coming out of the speaker on the bottom. Now thankfully that speaker is pretty decent, but again, if you're switching from a phone that does have stereo audio, then this phone will not be an upgrade when it comes to that. So there are no stereo speakers with the Moto G Stylus 5G. And then finally, coming in at the final con of the phone, and again, this isn't really even a big deal to me, but it might be something that might matter to you, are the build materials. Now the good news though is that the phone does feel like good quality, it does feel nice and solid, but it is completely made out of plastic. The back panel of the phone is plastic, and all the side rails are plastic as well. The only thing that's not plastic on the exterior of the phone is of course the actual display itself, which is made out of glass. But maybe you're coming from a phone like the Galaxy S9, for example, or Galaxy S8. Who knows what you're upgrading from? But if build materials matter to you and your current phone is made out of glass and metal on the back, then just know that the Moto G Stylus 5G doesn't feature those premium build materials. Now, I'm personally somebody that is a big fan of putting cases on the various phones I use, and because of that, I don't really care a ton about the materials of the device as long as the phone doesn't fall apart. But if that does matter to you, then just know that this phone is made out of plastic. But those are my pros and cons for the Moto G Stylus 5G. I hope you found those 5 best and 5 worst things to be helpful, and hopefully it gives you a better idea of what to expect with this phone if you happen to decide to buy it. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, give it a thumbs up. But this is Kevin here, and I will see you in the next one.